Okay. Commissioner Ed Rothstein, and I am very delighted to have here our Secretary of Maryland Transportation, Department of Transportation, Secretary Potts and his team. Welcome, sir. To Carroll County, as I shared, I believe we did so much value during MACo, during summer MACo. And we cannot, really understand the impact that that has in a continuing basis. So we're having a continuing message coming across. Consistency is so important in understanding our priorities and, walking through the vision and the master plan of Carroll County and how it dovetails to the partnership and the work that you're doing, sir, with your team on the highways that intersect in the county. And why they're so important to us, some more important than others. I also have in the audience, besides staff, and I expect your staff as well, some of the leadership from the 8 jurisdictions, and we'll give them an opportunity. And I'm saying that now because last time I forgot to say that, so we'll give them the opportunity to ask and comment as they wish. But, sir, I believe the floor is yours to kick this off.
Great. Well, thank you. For the record, my name's Jim Ports. I'm Secretary for Maryland Department of Transportation. And thank you for inviting us to provide our overview of our draft Consolidated Transportation Program, better known as the CTP, for fiscal years 2023 through 2028. So I brought our MDOT team with me today from State Highway Administration, Administrator Tim Smith, and Acting District Engineer Andrew Radcliffe. And I heard he's already reached out to you guys.
Absolutely.
So I hear
really
he's already on
Andrew.
the job, drinking from the fire hose, I guess, right, Andrew?
As they say.
Get used to it, buddy. From Maryland Transportation Authority, Planning and Program Development Director Melissa Williams. From Maryland Transit Administration, we have Local Transit Support Director Travis Johnston. From Motor Vehicle Administration, Field Operations Director Rashad Johnson. And from Maryland Aviation Administration, Regional Aviation Assistant Director Ashish Solanki. I say that all the time. I have it's a Baltimore thing, I think. I don't know. Also joining us from the Secretary's Office, Regional Planner Dan Janisak. Where is Dan?
Okay.
Oh, there he is. And Director of Government Affairs, Pilar Helm. So I first want to thank you. You mentioned MACo. I want to thank you for visiting it with us at MACo. I think MACo is a great opportunity for us to connect and understand how we can work together to develop solutions for your local challenges. And I think over the years, we've developed a really, really good working relationship together. And I can't emphasize enough that we're not only available at MACo or here at the CTP meetings, and I know you all know this, as you know, we're available anytime through email, phone, text, whatever. I know I've gotten several messages from you all in the past, so more than happy to do that, and I'm proud of our entire team, because if you don't know one thing, you know we're accessible and we get things done. So since our meeting at MACo, we've already addressed several key issues for your county. Commissioner Watts, Steve? You brought up some concerns about Route 86 and Church Street intersection in Lineborough. Our team is conducting a traffic and engineering review that is expected to be completed this month, and we'll share those results once that review is completed.
Excellent. Thank you.
So thank you for sharing that with us. Commissioner Boucher, regarding your request to prioritize the replacement of Union Bridge over the Little Pipeline Creek on Maryland 75 due to concerns about current capacity and flooding, we're continuing to assess the bridge and your concerns, and we'll make that data available when the assessment is completed.
Thank you very much.
Yep. And now I'd like to take a minute to look back over what we've done with this administration, working in partnership from counties all over the state, from Western Shore to Eastern Shore, and I should say Western Maryland to Eastern Shore, not Western Shore. Thanks to Governor Hogan's record investments in transportation infrastructure, we've accomplished a great deal over the last 8 years. With Governor Hogan's leadership, MDOT immediately began moving forward on the top priorities of transportation in every region across the state. We've improved 100% of the state's highway system, making our roads and bridges much safer and less congested. We expanded several busy state roads into 4-lane divided highways to improve safety and reduce number of head-on collisions, including Maryland 32 and also 404. And we just opened up the nice Middleton Bridge yesterday, which took a 2-lane undivided highway or bridge into a 4-lane divided bridge. So we're really getting a lot of things done. And speaking of bridges, of the 69 poorly rated bridges we identified in 2015, SHA repaired or replaced all of them, and we're continuing to address the aging infrastructure. We now have 26 poorly rated bridges. That's a historical low for the state of Maryland, and all these bridges are now under construction, funded for construction, or in design. Also on our list of accomplishments is the switch to all electronic tolling across the state. The move is keeping traffic flowing, easing congestion, and helping the environment by not having idling cars. And speaking of tolls, you'll hear a little bit more about this later, but very important reminder, time is running out to pay your unpaid tolls and have the late fees waived. Back in February, we announced a customer assistance plan to help you help your constituents, and we've given customers 9 months to get their late fees waived by paying their unpaid tolls. On September 1st, we started a 90-day countdown. In fact, with 31 days in October, we actually throw in an extra day, but that grace period ends November 30th. So the clock is ticking. As of today, everyone only has 48 more days left to pay their tolls and get those fees waived. If you haven't already done so, please remind your friends, neighbors, colleagues, co-workers, anybody you know, to take advantage of getting those tolls waived, or not the tolls waived, the fees waived. And
You got to walk that one back.
yeah, I had to walk. Yeah, that one I got a little over the top there, Melissa. Don't tell Will. But yeah, so let everybody know, take advantage of this money savings opportunity, and look into transit. Our systems are also more reliable thanks to Governor Hogan's historical investments to lower maintenance-related interruptions. And as our infrastructure governor, Governor Hogan kept Maryland's port and airport open for business throughout the pandemic, with continued investments at BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport and Maryland's Port of Baltimore. At BWI, we are handling more air cargo than Reagan National and Dulles combined. And when container ships were backing up at other ports around the country, you saw that on the news, there were no delays here at Maryland's Port of Baltimore. In fact, we welcomed ships that were diverted here because they could not be served elsewhere. We'll hear more about these and other major milestones from our transportation business units in just a moment. But I want to stress that Governor Hogan has delivered more projects and more money to local jurisdictions through the highway user revenues. During this past legislative session, I know you all know, he worked across the aisle to get a good deal for the local jurisdictions, increasing the amount of HURs by 33%. The successful negotiations allowed us to amend the bill to be even better than what was originally proposed. And that's a dramatic increase to help you fund your transportation priorities, and will help provide local matching funds to capitalize on funds that may be available through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that we call the IIJA. MDOT is here to help you navigate that federal process. We did talk about that at MACO. There are some grants that are only available to local governments, not state government. We're prohibited from putting in for them, and we'll help you any way we can to navigate that. And that brings us to IIJA funds, and everybody's been asking me for 9 months what the heck we're funding with IIJA. Well, it's all here in this book. This is it. This is what we're funding. And I do want to stress, however, that it is not all new money. It includes our federal formula funding, including projects that were already in our FY 2022 through 2027 CTP. So during the next 6 years, in the draft 23 through 28 CTP, Maryland has programmed $1.3 billion of new IIJA funds. It's $178 million for airports, $166 million for transit, and $966 million for highways. Now, those allocations I just mentioned are based on a federal formula that is outlined in the IIJA by the federal government. So we're working closely with our federal partners on specific criteria to program additional projects for both transit and highways, and this funding will go a long way to state of good repair. It's important to Governor Hogan and quite frankly me to advance at least one new priority project in every county and Baltimore City in the form of a new highway, transit, or aviation project. And there are also potential for some additional projects and discretionary grants that are part of IIJA. So we're exploring those, and as always, as I mentioned, we're here to help you apply for any grants we may be able to get. Shifting to the details of the CTP, I can start off by telling you this is the largest transportation budget ever. The draft 23 through 28 CTP totals $19.9 billion. That's $2.2 billion more than the FY 22 through 27 CTP of about $17.7 billion. As noted earlier, this draft CTP includes a large increase in HUR funds, which you could spend on local projects. A 33% increase delivers hundreds of millions of dollars more, thanks to the agreement between the governor and the legislators. That increase of nearly $2.2 billion in this draft CTP includes $1.3 billion in additional IIJA funds, improved revenue estimates post-pandemic, and MDOT's higher share of the state corporate income tax. CTP also devotes 35% of the budget, that's $6.9 billion, to system preservation. That's $800 million more than last year's CTP. So these dollars are critical to achieve and maintain a state of good repair for our roads, bridges, rail, and airports, as well as the port. And just as important, CTP allows our transportation system to contribute directly to Maryland's economic recovery, and that's the balance that we need to maintain our assets, deliver major projects, and plan for the future. That's how we deliver a network that's safe, reliable, accessible, and inclusive for all Marylanders. I just want to say what an honor it's been working with our dedicated team of NDOT employees, and that's all throughout the department, to deliver projects and services every day. As a matter of fact, I've been highlighting their hard work in a video series that we started. It's called Ports Supports Employees. And in those videos, we show,
Wait, what?
yeah,
That was a play of
Ju-
words.
Just
Once,
just let it
the-
ride.
yeah.
Just let it ride. It's all
Ports,
good.
Supports
Yeah, I got it,
employees.
I got it.
Anyway,
Keep going.
we have a video of me showing what it's like to be a crane operator in the new Panamax cranes, 165 feet up in the air. If you do watch that video, you'll see I'm scared to death of heights. That's one of the things I'm scared to death of. And you will not see a sequel to that video.
Did you have to climb a ladder to get up there?
A ladder and an elevator.
Yeah.
Got to climb a ladder 2 floors
Right.
to get in an elevator to go up
Difficult.
to the 165 feet.
Right.
To get in a glass box where the first thing they do is tell you to put a seatbelt on. And I'm like, am I going to crash? Well, I'm not going to hit anybody, am I? But anyway, you'll see. I also took time to go out with state highway crews to learn how to fill potholes. And I did, quite frankly, every single job on that pothole crew, and they were a little surprised about that. And I also went out and picked up litter with SHA crews. And so with that, I'm going to talk a little trash. And litter on our highways costs us all some serious dough. $60 million over the last 8 years. That's about $7 million per year that it costs us on average to pick up trash. Think about that waste. I'm sure everybody in this room can figure out better ways to spend $7 million per year. At MDOT, we launched this program. I couldn't wait to start this program. This is kind of like my baby, if you will. And so we created 2 superheroes, Recycle Ruby and Can It Clay. And the reason we created the superheroes is so that we could have kids shame their parents into not throwing stuff out the window. If you look how this bag works, you got the 2 prongs that come down from the headrest. You click these around the headrest, and it sits on the back of your front seat. Dispose of stuff properly in here and get rid of it when you reach your destination. So we need your help to start spreading that word, because I think it's not just state highways, I'm sure you guys hear the same thing that we do. And I think if we all do our part, we can stop garbage and $60 million from, get ready for it, Steve, literally going out the window.
we go
Okay?
again.
See that? See how that works?
I'm just surprised that one of those superheroes didn't have ports assigned to them of some sort.
Well,
Yeah,
the next batch.
never mind.
The
Go
next
ahead.
batch. Anyway, but I'm sure if you ask Tim Smith right next to me, if he'd rather find different ways to spend that money, I'm sure he could. And quite frankly, being out there, I found out how unsafe it is for our crews, and we need to protect our employees. So, hope you help spread the word. And with that, it's a good segue to turn it over to Tim Smith.
Thank you, Jim.
MDOT SHA.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners. It's, I think we were in virtual last year, so it's good to be in person with you this year. It's actually, Jim mentioned it, but it's a privilege to lead the State Highway team. I know we got Andrew Radcliffe serving you now, and Dan Houck is his Deputy District Engineer, so I know you're in good hands. We don't necessarily rebuild in State Highway, we just kind of reload. But last year, when we were virtual, I discussed how we were building a shelf of projects, and it mainly fell into 3 different areas. One was kind of asset management, where we're looking to keep our infrastructure in a state of good repair, and that means beyond pavement and bridges, that means traffic signals, drainage, traffic barrier. Second was kind of accessibility, where we're looking at our vulnerable users, not just those folks behind the wheel, but trying to make sure our pedestrian and bicyclists are able to get to point A to B safely as well. And lastly, kind of that third part of that stool, three-legged stool is mobility. And we're looking at opportunities to alleviate congestion, but maybe doing it a little differently than we've done in the past. We're trying to use our existing footprint and use technology combined with some geometric improvements to improve the efficiency and safety of cars moving from points A to B. Like I said, using our existing footprint, might potentially using some shoulders more than we've done in the past. So you'll see through the SHA's pages of the CTP, we have a suite of those type of projects that reflect that theme of accessibility, asset management, and mobility. Secretary Ports talked about the progress we made statewide. I just kind of wanted to highlight a few that we've done here in Carroll County. One, I know was been brought up in Mako the last few years, but just addressing the intersection there at Mayberry, 140 and Mayberry Road. So that project we started earlier this year, but what we're going to be doing is updating the turn lanes there, adding improved traffic signal, and enhanced shoulders for bicyclists, as well as doing some stormwater management improvement through that location.
Hurry up, will you?
Yes, sir.
I wish you would have done it the opposite way, but I'm sure there's a reason that you didn't. But
It's a bit of a Rubik's Cube, but
yeah,
yes.
I know that's a little bit of a mess there. It's a little wonky at that intersection.
Yeah, keep going.
Wonky, anyway.
Is that a Carroll County term? 'Cause
It is not a Carroll
It's
County
We
term.
can say it's
Whatever.
Wansi.
It's a Tawny Town term.
Yeah, that northbound side, or northwestbound, I guess, was the one that's really critical, because a lot of buses come in that way to turn right
to
to
the
get into the
school.
school.
Yep.
So I know you're gonna continue the efforts, and I truly do appreciate that. Plus, we do appreciate the fact that you've made that intersection a lot safer, because you pushed back some of the embankments there. So, well done on that too. So, thank you.
No problem.
Nice.
So also, in partnership with the county, we're making upgrades to the drainage system there in Sykesville on Maryland 851. We stand ready and prepared to begin the construction. I know the county is working on some other additional utilities through that area, but ultimately that scope, we're going to be upgrading sidewalks, doing curb and gutter, and as well as paving Springfield through Sykesville. there.
I'll just share with you, and I'm sure the mayor later on may discuss further. It's important to look at that holistically and not just piecemealing one part of 851 or Main Street, but, it feeds into the bridge that crosses over to Howard County. So you got the bridge, you got 851, you got the 2 feeder roads going down into 851. So looking at it in its entirety is going to be important. One, to come up with a plan that's, between us, the town, and the county, us, the county, the town, and you. But then also for expectation management of the community on when roads will either be disrupted or, the community will be disrupted, because there is a lot of activity in the coolest small town in America, and we don't want to disrupt that. And any more than we have to. So just continue to look at that, because you talked about the bridges, and that does concern me, that it's just a very complex problem set.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed. We need to look at it as a system, and the seamlessness between whether it's a city, municipality, county, or state, that's something we all need to coordinate and partner together with. Completely
to
agree.
include both counties, us
Correct.
and Howard County.
As a matter of fact, it's something that we struggle with all the time. Obviously, we, the state, are not in charge of zoning and development.
Right.
You all are at the local level, so both counties, as well as the municipalities. And the more that you can share that information, the better. When we talk about piecemeal, what occurs most of the time, you'll have one development coming in, you'll know of another 2 or 3 coming in, but we don't know
Right.
about them.
Right.
And we can only address the ones that we know about.
Right.
So to whatever extent you, the local jurisdiction, and/or Howard County can work together, or we can work with you all, that helps us determine the mitigation that may be needed by the developments so that we can have a seamless system as we move forward. But that's the coordination we need.
Yeah, absolutely, and that makes perfect sense, and that's why I look forward to working with Andrew, following up after this, so, good.
And by the way, it also helps spread out the mitigation factors between all the developments that are occurring, instead of hitting this one with this piece and this one with this piece, or not hitting this one with this
Right.
piece, because he done that a lot, and then hitting this last one with everything.
Right.
And it makes it extremely difficult then to develop. So we really need to look at how to streamline that
Right.
process
Yep.
and coordinate it better.
Absolutely, okay, thank you.
And then just, you heard me talk about asset management and just looking at our infrastructure is, so next spring, we're going to start working on replacing the 2 structures there near Finksburg on Maryland 91, one over the Patapsco North Branch there, as well as the one right adjacent to it for the railroad. So you heard Secretary talk about it, but we're kind of harnessing the benefit of our IIJA enabled funding. And we'll be putting, like I said, we put that in our projects, but we're looking at that over the next 5 years. A couple of those, like I said, I wanted to highlight here just in Carroll County, is we're starting with the design and construction of another portion of the overall Maryland 32 corridor between Sykesville there and Eldersburg, basically 2nd Street to Main Street. That project will address the county's top transportation priority for safety and mobility improvements. So we're going to break that out as part of the overall plan through there. But what we're doing is improving site distances as well as traffic flow there, specifically at 2nd Street. That will improve safety and also traffic operations there. And then further, I guess a little further north there, north of Westminster, near the airport, IIJ is enabling us to initiate a feasibility study for potential transportation improvements along the Maryland 97 corridor, like I said, north of 140 there. So these activities will help us kind of identify some potential solutions as well as potential environmental impacts in the area. And with this early planning approach, it will support kind of the county's overall growth in that area, but also help make decisions what we need for right-of-way. And I know that was also kind of discussed during our MACO discussion. So I guess we kind of already talked about it, and we can see the collaboration already kind of going on as we're talking here. Just want to continue. I think the better we understand each other's priorities, our needs and constraints, we can build a better product for all our customers, whether they're focused on state roads, county roads, or municipality roads. So I appreciate your patience listening to me, and I'll turn the ball over to our teammate at MDTA, Melissa Williams.
Now, do you want us to discuss any other SHA issues, or do
Yeah,
you want
let's
us to
wait
get
until we
through?
do the presentation, and we'll
Got
be
it.
happy to answer any questions you have. It might flow better that
Yep,
way.
perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Tim. As the Secretary mentioned, time is running out with MDTA's civil penalty waiver grace period. I urge you to take advantage of the plan now by paying unpaid video tolls either in one payment or incrementally between now and 11:59 p.m. on November 30th. For every video toll transaction paid in full during the 9-month waiver grace period, the related civil penalty is waived, not the toll. Just the civil penalty. Toll bill referrals to the Central Collection Unit and MVA have ceased temporarily but will resume on December 1st. At that time, customers will become responsible for the full amounts of all unpaid tolls and civil penalties, which will be due based on the printed dates on their bills. Call and web chat wait times are much lower than before, so customers can easily reach out to resolve any of their tolling questions or address any of their needs. The MDTA has completed posting online all Maryland customer tolls that were deferred during the COVID-19 pandemic. MDTA encourages customers to check their accounts at driveeasymd.com and to pay their tolls now before civil penalties are assessed. You should have received a letter encouraging you to alert your constituents to start their toll payments now. Please don't wait until it's too late. For those of you traveling on the Bay Bridge, we've just completed open houses for the $28 million Bay Crossing Study Tier 2 National Environmental Policy Act in early September. The governor announced the funding for Tier 2 in June, following the Federal Highway Administration's April approval of the combined final environmental impact statement and record of decision for the Bay Crossing Study Tier 1 NEPA study. This 4 to 5 year Tier 2 study will build upon the Tier 1 findings and identify specific alignment corridors within Corridor 7. The 2-mile wide corridor runs from the Severn River Bridge in Anne Arundel County to the US 5301 split in Queen Anne's County. Please visit baycrossingstudy.com if you would like to read more information on that. Thank you, and I would now like to turn it over to Travis Johnston from MTA.
Thanks, Melissa. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm glad to be here with you today to report that it's an exciting time to be working in transit in Maryland. Through the Office of Local Transit Support, MTA continues to ensure transit systems across the state remain a safe and reliable transportation option for local residents. MTA is also preparing for the future of transit. We are currently in the final stages of completing the first 50-year statewide transit plan. Building upon existing regional and local transit plans across the state, the plan will outline a 50-year vision for transit in Maryland and help define transit needs across the state for future generations. We appreciate Carroll County's participation in the development of the plan and look forward to moving into implementation. Last but certainly not least, MTA makes a significant investment in transit in Carroll County by providing nearly $1.3 million in operating and capital grants to support the local transit operation. Thank you. I will now turn it over to MVA Field Operations Director, Rashad Johnson.
Thank you, Travis, and good afternoon, Commissioners. At the MVA, we continue to focus on providing premier customer service both in and out of our service branches. One of the greatest ways we've been able to do this is the completion of our award-winning IT modernization project, Customer Connect. In December 2021, MVA completed the final phase of Customer Connect, combining multiple legacy systems into one system. By linking driver and vehicle accounts, both the customer and MVA service agent have a complete view of one's status and history in a single profile. Customer Connect also allows us to offer more online transactions than ever before. Approximately 74% of our customers complete their transaction using an alternative service delivery method. Customers can do this through a My MVA account, which allows customers to set up an account that's unique to their needs. Customers can schedule an appointment, access their driver's license information, check vehicle registration status, view copies of any correspondence the MVA has sent to them, check vehicle emissions, inspection program deadlines, and much more. MVA remains appointment only, allowing us to serve more customers efficiently. More than 75% of our customers are being served within 15 minutes of their appointment time. In May, Maryland became the second state to launch Maryland Mobile ID in their Apple Wallet. Maryland Mobile ID is a voluntary, secure, digitized version of the Maryland driver's license, or ID, available in the Apple Wallet app or Apple Watch, and offers even more security and privacy benefits than the physical card. And for those Android users, we're working with other operating systems and will share more information as it comes available. We're looking to get them on board as well. We continue to focus on Real ID. To date, we've helped 87% of our Marylanders become compliant ahead of the May 3rd, 2023 deadline. MVA and its partners also remain committed to developing solutions to save lives on our roadways. Unfortunately, last year, 563 people lost their lives on Maryland roadways. I think we all can agree that's 563 too many. However, this is a decrease from 2020, but we continue to see the same contributing factors: speed, impairment, distraction, and improper or lack of seatbelt use. In September, Governor Hogan announced more than $315,000 for Carroll County agencies to address highway safety. Local jurisdictions are also encouraged to develop their own strategic highway safety plan that takes on the principles and overall goals of Maryland State Highway Safety Program while addressing specific concerns in their jurisdiction. And I'd like to thank you for implementing a strategic highway safety plan that complements the state's plan to reach the common goal of 0 fatalities. The bipartisan infrastructure law has made funds available to implement local plans. Jurisdictions who have developed a plan are eligible for funding that provides funding for local infrastructure improvements. MVA strives to be the best in the nation at everything we do. I am proud of our employees for doing an outstanding job in delivering on our customer service promise and continuing to think of new ways to involve the MVA to better serve Marylanders. Again, thank you for your attention, and I will now turn it over to Ashish Solanki at MAA.
Thank you, Rashad. Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be with you again this afternoon. Thank you for having us. As the Secretary mentioned and my colleagues have mentioned today, at MDOT MAA, our focus remains safety improvements and project delivery for our customers. And at our airports, BWI Marshall, Martin State, and including your regional airport and all of our regional airports across the state, we recognize the important economic engines these airports are and the vital transportation resources they deliver. General aviation reliever airports like Carroll County Regional and Martin State Airport provide important services to our community, both at the corporate level, personal travel level, emergency operations, law enforcement, and of course, military activity in and around our state. At BWI, to share with you a couple of our updates over the past year. Our partnerships with our airlines continue to support growing commercial activities that support tourism, business development, and of course, cargo activities. And I'll get to cargo in a minute as well. Airline traffic actually has increased pretty substantially since the pandemic has subsided. In fact, on the number side, we're at 80% of our pre-pandemic levels. Now, we're not at 100%, but we're trending in that direction. The good news with this is during holiday season, we've actually peaked past our pre-pandemic levels. So there is strong demand, and we're looking to continue that trend going forward as we move out of the pandemic. Also at the airlines, we've added new service, both domestic and international airline service, and that's added to our service capabilities of where our customers really want to go. These new airlines also have been added just in the recent months, so it's another positive direction that recognizes the BWI Marshall services and capabilities. I also mentioned the international service that has been added, and then now cargo. So cargo remains a bright spot for BWI Marshall, not just with Amazon, but other cargo operators throughout the airport. We've moved 618 million cargo pounds. Now, that's a number, it's a large number, but in percentage-wise, it's 55% of our region. And therefore, as the Secretary mentioned earlier, we remain the top airport moving cargo for our region. Now shifting us gears on the capital program side of the house, at BWI Marshall, I mentioned to you in the past briefings, we're working on our 3 core projects. First and foremost is our restroom renovations. The next one is Southwest Airlines maintenance building. And the last one, which is one of our biggest projects in our history, which is the Concourse A, B, and baggage handling system. All of these projects are underway now, and we're looking forward to delivering on these in the coming months and years, again, to focus on our customers and project delivery for our customers' travel. In addition to these capital improvements, IIJA is contributing $178 million in funding at BWI Marshall and Martin State combined. Now, most of the IIJA is focused on airside projects. We call those runways, taxiways, apron types of projects, but that also allows us to focus additional resources on these other needs as well. And shifting gears to our statewide program, we're pleased to be able to support our statewide regional airports at $3.5 million this year. And that includes for your regional, Carroll County Regional Airport, up to $277,000 to cover for roadway relocation, to support the runway extension, roof repairs to support the activities at our terminal building, and of course, the operations related to the overall airport. So thank you for your attention. It's a pleasure to be here. It's my pleasure now to turn it back over to Secretary. Jim?
Okay, great. Thanks, Ashish. And thank you again for inviting us to talk about our 6-year capital program, known as the CTP. And now we'll turn the meeting back over to you, Mr. President. I always like saying that. And we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, so over the next 4 hours, we will have a dialogue and see where this goes.
We ordering
I think I clicked my heels
So-
and I'm in Montgomery County.
I'm just, okay, we are definitely not, we are not part of the Republic.
So now you've got us down to 15 minutes.
You did that like that. I appreciate the updates from all. Again, highlighting the, as you shared, the responsiveness and teamwork that you provide for us. I think the best thing to do at this point is kind of go down the line and see what we all have in the different areas of interest and take it from there, so. Yes.
Okay. First, I want to start off with saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Since I've been county commissioner, your department has been extremely responsive. When we go down to Mako, we ask for something that we need, you get back to us. It's not, okay, we asked for it, never hear from it. I get emails, what's going on. I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much. And not only you're responsive, it's not a no. It's, we're working on this, we're seeing what we can do with this, and I do.
Sometimes it's a maybe.
Well, that's better than a no. I'm very, very
Well, we don't
appreciative
start off with
of
no.
Exactly.
That's right. Gets there eventually, no. No, but I really do appreciate everything that you do for us. You've helped us tremendously here in Carroll County. I have to say that. I do want to mention 2 things. One I always mention is 97. I know you're looking at it right now. And since you mentioned the airport, we're doing that safety expansion at the airport, so you have to look at both those things coming in because we do expect more traffic and so forth to be coming to that airport when the safety expansion is done. So I don't, you don't want to look at one part and then the other. You want to look at it all together because we're hoping that that's what happens. One of the reasons doing that safety expansion, because it is a money generator for Carroll County. So we want that to, just keep that in mind there. And I don't remember, sorry, who got back to me on email about the 140 and 27, coming into 27 from 140. I did mention that at Mako. Someone's already emailed me about it, and I appreciate it. I don't remember who it was. But, you're working on that. I
That'd
appreciate
be
it.
Andrew.
Take let Andrew take credit.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm glad it's being looked at.
Yeah.
And really, and I have to also say thank you for the buses. I know you're the bus guy. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I just want to reiterate again that, we can't see everything across the state. So it's very helpful to have that collaboration where you're our eyes and ears and you can let us know about some of the things that we may need to do to help you. And so that's really what we need. So anytime you can provide that, it's very helpful. Thank you.
I appreciate it, and you'll see, we're not very shy.
No, I know that.
And, and I do appreciate not taking ourselves so serious, but taking everything we do very seriously.
Absolutely.
And that goes a long ways. Commissioner Boucher?
Yes, sir, thank you. Well, as always, I'm gonna start out some praise. First of all, I wanna praise Governor Hogan. As a businessman, he brought the customer service philosophy to the table, and MVA was one of those areas where people were screaming for it. I wanna praise him for doing so. Also, I wanna give you credit, Secretary Ports. We come from working class backgrounds, and I like the fact that you went out on the front line with the workers. You can govern best and administer best when you know what's going on the front line, and you brought that philosophy to the table, and it shows in how you run this administration. And I want to thank you all for working on the Mount Airy Mainline Trail. The older I get, the more important I realize walking is. Our citizenry is growing older. I'm part of that classification now. I get the ARP things in the mail. I've enjoyed, but they're bugging me. So the trails are important, so thanks for helping out Mount Airy. And also, thanks for helping New Windsor. It's the second smallest municipality in the county. They've really been looking for help ever since I got elected. So I see the design is on their way for their streetscape. So I very much appreciate that. And thanks for staying on top of the bridge and the bridge in Union Bridge on 75. There's a piece missing that bridge. It's not critical, but it's something to keep an eye on, and I'm very much grateful for that. So thank you very much for everything you're doing, and the presentation today was wonderful. You got a great cast of characters here.
Yeah, well, thank
With you
you.
being the biggest character.
Oh, yeah, I'm quite a character. But first of all, thank you. You're right, Governor Hogan had set a new precedent with customer service, and it wasn't just a slogan, it was how we had to operate as an organization. You know, people come to government, they don't have a choice, they have to come to us. And so he wanted to improve that, so we had to think differently. Instead of thinking like some people would say bureaucrats and what's best for us, we had to think about what's best for the customer. When you think about what's best for the customer, you think differently.
Yes.
I think that's what you've seen, that's what you've seen with Customer Connect. It is, they won the NASTO award, which is very unusual for a highway organization to give an MVA an award like that. NASTO is the regional part of AASHTO, which is the national state highway organization. And so, we were very proud of that, and they've also become a one-stop shop. Get your TSA pre-check there, you can get your TWIC card there, you can get your boat license along with your trailer license there. You
Veteran
can
Affairs.
get veteran services there, you get Easy Pass. What did I miss? Did I miss something?
No, I think you got it.
I got them all? Okay. So, I mean, we are becoming a one-stop shop because we should not send customers all over the place to different agencies. Oh, birth certificates. We both thought of it at the same time. You do not have to send people all over creation to different organizations when we have this organization, MBA, where people want to go and be served. And as Rashad said, in less than 15 minutes. I think the last time I heard it was 10 minutes and 48 seconds. That is unbelievable. As for your compliment to me about the trades, you do know I came up through the trades. It's very important to me to speak to the people at the grassroots level. And, look, I came through the trades, I'm secretary. You never know where your next leader is going to come from.
God bless America.
And so it all works, but that's something you always see out of me. But thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner Wance?
Where do you want me to start? First of all, in
Thank
honor
you.
of your visitation today and your team, I donated $14 at the local VEIP venue. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Did you pass?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. All right,
You
before I
have to
come.
study hard for it?
It's a tough one, I
He
gotta tell you.
didn't inhale.
See how I set it up there? You got that? Before I get local here, somebody's got to answer this question. As a frequent user of the Bay Bridge, what's with the arms, with the red stuff, with the red thing? Come on, with the fins on them. What are you doing there? I'd love to know.
That's to block you from going across. Seriously, we call it, they call it the traffic management system, but
Okay.
everybody refers to it as a gate system.
Okay.
And so you may be familiar with the process that we currently do or have done for decades, where when we wanted to go to contraflow, we had to put the barrels and drums out, the barrels and the cones out there to move the traffic from one side to the other. One, it's very unsafe for our workers to do that. Two, by doing so, it takes us 20 minutes to 30 minutes to do that. And by doing so, we increase that backup congestion about 1.5 miles on one side and 1 mile on the other side when we switch the traffic. There's just nothing you could do because you have to drag it because you got to protect
Right.
your workers. And so what we decided to do was put up that gate system so that, I don't know if you've been through Virginia, but similar to when they go to contraflow, the gates come down and they block off the lane from one direction, and then they allow you to go in the other direction. So basically, we're gonna be able to put those gates out. Plus, we have the overhead gantries that are gonna have color, and so it'll go from, a green arrow to a yellow check mark or something.
X.
Yeah, okay.
X, a yellow X, I'm sorry, yellow X, which means get the heck out of that lane.
Right.
And by the time it turns red, you should be out of the lane. It doesn't mean get out now, it means you should already be out of the lane. So those gates will come down and block that area. It'd be much more quicker, much more efficient, and we won't have the backups that we have with the cones and barrels.
When are you gonna institute that?
It's gonna be this fall.
Right, okay.
So we had the one project going westbound. I taught, when I was executive director, I said, why aren't we doing it eastbound? And we ended up doing an emergency procurement, so we could do both. And we could have opened the one side a little earlier, but it would confuse the public probably, so we're waiting until the fall so we could do it all at once and get the people that live in that area used to the contraflow and the way the gate system works. And then hopefully they'll be ready for summer, because we don't want to spring that in the summer, right? You just don't want to do that.
That could be a disaster.
Could be a disaster. So we're trying to
Okay.
do it in the fall.
Okay.
And then get everybody used to it, and then be ready for spring and
Right.
summer.
Yeah, I know it's not in the county here, but I just had to ask.
No, but
And
it's
my
a,
colleagues in Queen Anne's
Everybody.
try to explain it to me, and I'm like, I'm going to ports, so whatever. Anyway, thank you for that.
Sure.
Locally, again, thank you for 86 and Lineborough Road there. That continues to be, Route 86, that continues to be a problem area, so thank you for looking into that. Anything we can do there, we appreciate. Again, I can't thank you enough for 140 in Mayberry. Get the other lane down as soon as you can, Tim, okay? Work on it.
Yes, sir.
And then finally, I just have one other request that has come up here lately. We have a new, I say new, an expanded events venue at 140 and South Pleasant Valley Road and Fishelburg Road. It's actually, it's called Island Green, and they went from a golf driving range to a concert venue now. And they also have now added a restaurant there, and they've got a big billboard on 140 that says they have the best crab cakes in Maryland. I don't know what that's, I mean, I haven't been there
Have you
yet.
tested it?
I have not, but
Okay.
my mom and dad have, and they say they think that's probably pretty legit, so. Anyway, a lot of increased traffic, even though you guys enhanced that intersection a few years ago, which made it incredibly more user-friendly. But a lot of folks out there are now asking about a light, especially when that venue lets out and the uptick in the traffic that's seen there as a result of the restaurant being there. So I know there's a statistical method to that, and you just can't go like this and put a light. So the ask here is perhaps to engage in that, that statistic look at that intersection and see if it warrants. Got it?
He's got it. He already gave me thumbs up, he got it.
I didn't want to look at you, but I knew but yeah, just take a look at that and see if it does warrant, because again, at any given time, it can be a mess there. And Jim, you know, I've ridden on a few fire engines in my life, and
Yeah.
I've been on some pretty nasty accidents at that
I bet.
location. So take a look at that and see what we can do.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, are there lights there? I can't remember. And yeah, overheads.
Overhead lighting
I can't remember.
at the intersection.
Is there? Okay. I mean, even if they're not there, that would help, but I can't remember. But thank you for that. But
Yeah.
anyway, take a look, see if we can get a signal there, if it warrants it.
We
So,
can take a look at it, and you hit the magic word. It has to meet the warrants.
I
Has
got
to
it.
meet the warrants.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Yeah, I know.
but yeah, we can take a look at it.
Absolutely.
Andrew's got it on his list
Okay.
now.
And beyond that, Jim, you know how, I mean, you and I go back a little ways. And,
Oh, yeah.
and I appreciate everything you've done for Carroll over the years, the entire team. From the buses to, you mentioned the airport, we're really proud of that. We, you know, that safety enhancement that we're engaged in is huge. We've got to get that done because as it sits, it's one of the most dangerous runways in the state of Maryland because it goes against the wind. And I've got a couple friends that are pilots that said, you know, they
Well, it's
say
good
their
for
blessings
takeoff,
every
not
time.
good for landing.
Yeah, yeah, so, yeah. So anyway, we appreciate all that you're doing to assist us with that, and all points in between. Thank you guys for it. The repaving projects, we're seeing a lot of new blacktop this
You
year,
sure
too.
are.
That's good stuff.
Sure
So-
are.
So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Weaver, I know
Here we
you,
go.
This is the best meeting I've been in all day.
Me too.
you missed the presentation. It was stellar in all regard, but at this point, any issue, concern in the Finksburg, Gamber area?
91 and 140, that's always a major issue, and I know it's already being addressed here, and I see you have a bridge over the railroad tracks in North Branch, Patapsco there. That's probably a good thing at this point. So that's our major concern, and I want to again thank you for the Hampstead project. Over the last few years, it has opened things up and working well now. I know we had some concerns when we first started, and you were there, but it all worked out. Everybody's happy now. You wouldn't believe how thrilled they are, so.
Out there, some of my cousins. But you missed it. I did thank all the commissioners for meeting with us in Mako. I just want to let
Except
you
for
know
you.
that we thank you for doing that, and that's how we get things done quicker.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
So thank you.
All you guys, been great to work with.
Great, thanks.
Just again, thank you, Mr. Secretary and your team, all the work you're doing. There are a handful of things that continue to bring to your attention. Highway 26, I am absolutely concerned about the suicide lanes coming from the Liberty Reservoir all the way through Eldersburg, all the way, if you take it all the way through to South Carroll High School. You got to realize you have 3 high schools that feed onto Liberty Road and numerous senior apartments and facilities that feed onto Liberty Road. So you got everybody going into these suicide lanes, and what I would like to see is an effort to putting islands, changing the culture, making folks turn right, and then having to make the right appropriate turns. But when you have young drivers and old drivers, it's just a concern. The Slacks Road, I mentioned it, and Andrew, I do appreciate that you did recognize that. It is a county road, but as you know, Secretary Owings and DGS and a whole lot of others are very excited, as we are, to establishing a state-of-the-art VA center there with about 140 beds, a couple hundred employees. So it's going to be a $165 to upwards of $200 million project being funded by the state and by the federal government. Really excited. Slacks Road, I don't want to use the word death trap because that's not appropriate. However, it definitely has its concerns. It's very windy. It's narrow with culverts on both sides. It is a county road, but this project is going in. So having, us to look at it together on how to take care of Slacks Road because of its impact it's going to have on the VA center is I would ask you to take a look at that. And what I'm trying not to do is just push our problems onto you, but what it is, a project that's going to dovetail into a state federal project. And how can we get funding? Maybe some of the funding from that construction built into ingress egress onto Slacks Road. At least that would be a start. The shuttles, we have a very good shuttle system here, especially for our veterans. There's a theme about veterans, having been one. And very proud of the shuttle system for our veterans, taking them to both Martinsburg and to Green Street and everywhere in between. It is a Carroll County project that we fund. And I've often shared this with Secretary Owings, is that it would be nice to see a project or a program where it can work with the other jurisdictions. So if they're going to Green Street, they're going through Baltimore County, they can stop in Baltimore County, pick up 2 or 3 veterans, get them over to Green Street. If it's going to Martinsburg, you can stop over in Frederick County, Hagerstown, wherever you want to go, and pick folks up. I think taking a look at that, again, holistically, as a regional project and not just a county project. That may be something to think about. It works. I mean, the system works. We're very proud of it. We're using our discretionary funds to make it work. And, you know, we have been doing this since 2016, probably, before I came on. It was Doug's baby. So I would say 15, 16. But now it's to a point where I believe it's outgrown its small effort, and it has an opportunity to really be a regional impact for our veterans. It was mentioned about the airfield. There's a lot of long poles in that tent that we have to continue to strive towards success, but we are committed to making that successful. And I think we're all in, and we've decided from us for quite some time, and we continue to say we're all in to making this thing work, because we can't look back on this one. And it is an economic engine, as is most transportation efforts are economic engines to our community. Those were my notes again, just to cap it off again, my appreciation and thanks to you and your team. What I'd like to do now is have the jurisdictions come up.
Well, you want me to just touch base on it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So 26, I mean, obviously, we can take a look at that to see what some of those concerns are. On the Slats Road project, I mean, obviously, we're prohibited from putting money into county roads. That's what the HUR funds are for. There may be some opportunity if we look at the project, because we're not familiar with the project, obviously, because it's not our project, but there may be some opportunity to see how there may, through a traffic impact study, how it might impact state roads. And from that, you might be able to work with whoever's doing the development to figure
Right.
out how to do
Right.
some of the county road, but other than that, we're not gonna be able to help too much on that. The shuttles for the veterans, so Travis, I know that when I was at Hartford Transit, running Hartford Transit, we did create a partnership with Cecil County for Perry Point. And so we did, it took Hartford County funds and Cecil County funds working together to get veterans from both of the counties up to Perry Point. Because, I mean, it's just across the bridge, right?
Right,
It-
absolutely.
yeah, It's
Yeah.
a Hayden Bridge, so it was so close for people in Hartford County. It was obviously an asset in Cecil County. So we did put something together. We, at that time, we also used a little bit of JARC funds. I know that JARC is not available anymore. I know that. That was a federal funded program that is not available anymore. And so it was job access and reverse commute.
Yes.
Woo-hoo. Anyway, funny how things come back to you, but, so you may wanna, also look with the other jurisdictions to see if they can create that partnership. And what we did, I think the VFW had kicked some money in, to help supplement some of the cost for the veteran. So in other words, if it's a $2 or $3 fee
Right.
to take the trip,
Right,
the veteran organizations would kick in the money for the veterans for that. And that doesn't pay for your service
right.
specifically, but it does help the veterans. So I'm just throwing these things
Yeah.
out to you that you could think about, but you can also talk to the folks in Hartford County and Cecil County to
Okay.
see how
Okay.
they're doing it now. I've been away from it for many
Right,
years, about
right.
8 years. So I'm not positive how they continue it, but you can check with them, maybe an asset to you.
And I appreciate, we have a very strong Veterans Council that are doing a lot of good
It's
things.
no cost
but-
to our veterans,
Right,
so.
at this point,
Okay, so, so you already got that covered.
right,
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
Very good. So it's, anyway, just some ideas. And
Yeah.
of course, Travis, he helps run our locally operated transit system for the
Right,
state. The
right.
guy's brilliant. He's very good to work with, so you can tap him too.
That'd be great, and appreciate the words on Slacks, just looking at different options and ideas and moving forward, because
Sure.
it's gonna, that's a tough nut to crack.
It is.
So.
It is.
But
Once a
Oh.
Marine, always a Marine.
Okay,
That's right.
so what I'd like to do is move this over to the jurisdictions
Okay.
that are in place, and
Sure.
then after that, invite, if they would like, our legislators that are here. I see 2 delegates and
I'll
a
see 'em.
senator,
Yep.
so, but let's start with the legislators. Tawnytown, you want to come up?
You mean the
Or
municipality?
municipalities, I'm sorry.
Make sure you hit the roll call, in case there's somebody we didn't see here.
Yeah, I know.
1, 2, 3.
Good afternoon, everybody.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's start with the sweet, then we'll move into what some may see as sour. First off, I want to thank you for improvements made to the crosswalks at the intersection of 140 and 194. For those not aware with Tawnytown, 194 and 140 kind of converge in our downtown. It's a struggle for us having a state highway take up so much of our municipality. Those crosswalks are a great thing. The response to getting the horse and buggy warning signs around the municipality were awesome, much needed for the community. And we've talked about it several times now today, I'm gonna say it again. The improvements at Mayberry Road are perfect, that's what we need. About half of the students from my municipality attend Runnymede Elementary School, so those improvements will make it safer for them, as well as for my community that commutes to Westminster and vice versa. In terms of what I'd really like to see, you can call that the sour part of this. Pedestrian safety is still a huge concern in Tawnytown. Some things I'd like to have considered would be delayed green lights at certain times of the day at the main intersection of 140, 194 to give pedestrians a chance to cross. I understand it'll snag up traffic a little bit more, but perhaps a study of figuring out when the most opportune time to do that is. The other is there is a crosswalk at Middle Street and 140 that is really the main way to get from one side of the street to the other, you know, barring those who choose not to use crosswalks. Some sort of flashing lighted sign system there would go a long way. I see them in use, you know, McDaniel College has some. We'd even be interested in partnering with the state to make that happen in whatever way possible. There's also been concerns from residents, you know, they see other municipalities with kind of the brick-looking crosswalks to help make them look a little bit different than the road. Obviously, another idea to consider. And last but surely not least, to bring up 40-year-old news, I'd really love to see a bypass go around Tawnytown. And we are actively working, you can laugh all you want, but we are actively working to defend and protect the right-of-way for that bypass. I mean, as you probably remember, it was approved 40 years ago, it was taken off. We just entered into a purchase option with a property just outside of the city where they want to go into ag pres. Part of that property was going to be in our alignment. We've now purchased over 4 acres of that to protect that alignment. That's going to go along with property that the county already owns there, again, for that right-of-way. We're now starting to see interest in development on the south side of Tawnytown, which is kind of in that same right-of-way. And we are actively working with them to make sure that whatever they put in protects or includes a part of this bypass. So we're making a lot of efforts from the municipality standpoint. Hopefully we can start a discussion and actually get this happening, because as we now go over 8,000 residents in the city, 40 years ago when it was initially approved, we had 2,500. So anything we can do to get some of the larger trucks out, as you can imagine, the vibrations from those can be quite detrimental to our historic buildings and such, and it just lends itself to more pedestrian safety. So that's my main request of you. I appreciate it. I didn't introduce myself. I apologize. I'm Mayor Bradley Wance from the City of Tawnytown. But thank you all for being here. Thank you, commissioners, for giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely.
So one question, one
Yes.
comment. I didn't quite understand what you said at first about state highway taking up a lot of space or state roads.
No, not, the difficulty is that the main thoroughfares through the middle of our city are state highway. So we
Okay.
have no abilities to do anything with it, if you understand what I mean.
Would you like the ability to do things with that?
I'm willing to have a conversation about if we can have an agreement of what we can do versus what we can't do with it. I'd love to have that conversation.
The reason I asked, and the reason for my original question, because I had a feeling that's what it was. I thought I understood what you were saying, but I wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying before I leaped. But many municipalities take over those roads.
Okay.
And, you know, if that's something you want to really happen, you're the mayor, along with your, I assume along with your city council, that's something that can potentially happen.
Well, that's definitely a conversation I'd love to have.
Okay, we'll have it.
Yep, absolutely.
How about that?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, all right, so from sour to sweet.
Absolutely.
All right, all
I love
right,
it.
so, and then the other thing, the comment I want to make is that, because you talked about, you start off with pedestrian safety, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you've heard of us, you heard us talk about a state highway safety plan.
Yep.
Right, strategic highway safety plan, I'm sorry. So, one of the things that you may not know about me, but I was Deputy Administrator in NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, so the second highest highway safety person in the nation. And so I have been pushing for every county and local jurisdiction to create a strategic highway safety plan. And so we would be happy to work with you. I know Rashad at MVA. We have the folks at our Strategic Highway Safety Office that can help you create that plan. Because I have to tell you, so again, first of all, thank you for bringing it up, because it doesn't work unless we have federal, state, county, and local jurisdictions working together to protect not just pedestrians, but everybody on the highway system, whether it be bicyclists or scooters, everything. So I just want to throw that out to you, because if you're interested in something like that, we'd be more than happy to help you.
And we would be more than happy to work with you.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, there was a pedestrian fatality just outside of my city limits. Bizarre set of circumstances, hit and run. Fortunately, they captured the offender within
Jeez.
12 hours.
Oh, they did, good.
They did.
Good.
But it just, again, to see that, I don't want to wait for a fatality to
No.
change. And
That's
I know
why
you
we
feel
have
the
people
same
do
way.
plans, right?
So that's why I'm here on behalf of my community who they feel
Perfect.
the same way. So
Thank you.
whatever conversation we can have, I'm ready to have it. So
We can do it.
Let's set a date and you can visit my
Rashad, let's
beautiful
get that
city.
on Tim's radar screen. Let Tim know to reach out to the good mayor.
Will do.
Do you have a card?
Perfect. I didn't bring them because I came
Ah,
from work, unfortunately.
okay,
I was
all right.
rushed to get here.
Okay.
If you'd like, I can write down my information. Can I use this
Yeah,
one?
absolutely.
Perfect. I will do so.
Tim Kearns, we stole him from University of Maryland. He's Dr. Tim Kearns, brilliant.
Is someone from Hampstead here? Westminster? Sykesville? Come on.
I too have just come from work. And my job has me in the rain all morning, so I apologize for.
Yeah, everybody in the rain this morning.
Good afternoon, I'm Stacy Link, Mayor of Sykesville. Thank you
Okay.
for giving us this opportunity. I made a few notes here for myself. A couple things I'd like to bring to your attention or maybe remind you about, because I actually sent a letter to you, Secretary Ports, and received a thoughtful reply last year regarding what I'm about to speak of. So thank you for that. But before that, there's a piece of property that is within town limits on the north side of 32, MB 32, and it was recently acquired by a developer. And that property is on mixed use, and so it's to be developed.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to have the opportunity to have another point of access at least assessed, or the ability to, another PEL study, I guess, completed, to see if that piece of property could have a point of access from the highway, from 32. The current PEL study was completed in 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And so I would strongly encourage SHA to consider a new PEL study. The development that I speak of would be adjacent to the Warfield project, the Warfield development area, the former Springfield State Hospital section of Sykesville. And that has become mostly residential development right now. And the only means by which the adjacent property that was recently acquired by a developer, the only access point to that is the one through the residential area that is now at Warfield. And I have some great concerns about that for my residents that are there now. So that is just something to kind of put on your radar if you would. And then the other item that has briefly been mentioned already this afternoon is that Maryland 851 bridge that in fact is in Howard County. Not only is the bridge in Howard County, but there's a beautiful park that the town of Sykesville leases for $1 a year from Howard County that we are responsible for maintaining and creating a recreational area. It's one of our favorite parks in Sykesville. The fortunate thing is that the town of Sykesville's just received a $2 million capital grant from the state to improve and redevelop the historic warehouse in that park. It was part of the well-known here in Carroll County, the B.F. Schreiber Cannery Company that they're building there. It was built in 1917. And so we're looking for a thoughtful reuse of it and have money now to finally bring that into fruition. The unfortunate portion of all of this is that the park is there. We're about to have a beautiful, hopeful performing arts area maybe in that warehouse. And the connection, the bridge itself, has a nearly 3-foot wide pedestrian passageway that cantilevers off of the southbound side of it. And it's really never been safe. And it is the only way for our visitors and patrons of our Main Street to safely access the park and the new infrastructure that's over there, including badly needed parking spaces. And so even before we redevelop the warehouse, there is a reason why we want to be able, patrons and pedestrians, to get over there and across the bridge. The pedestrian connection actually dumps out right onto Maryland 851, and there's not enough room for 2 people to pass by. So that is a huge concern for me and for my council, and as far as the pedestrian safety and the connectivity to our Main Street and our downtown district.
Okay.
So of the 26, I think you said poorly conditioned bridges in the state, I'm hoping that, I don't know if this is considered one of the poorly conditioned ones or not, but I do know that it's part of the plan for Howard County to take over that section of 851. And so the bridge improvement is, predominantly a part of that process. I just want to piggyback on that, in that improvement to that bridge. And I've met with SHA and wonderful Andrew and his predecessor, Terry Seuss, and thank you, Andrew. So it's on the list. But I want to just see if we can't get it moved to the top of the priority list for us for the pedestrian safety component, if nothing else.
Yeah, so I think we spoke at MML a little bit, and I know our team was kind of juggling the how to make improvements, and then where's Howard County in their negotiations and everything. So what we've given direction of back to, following Secretary Port's lead, is we're focused on pedestrian safety. So we're moving forward with trying to make those pedestrian improvements regardless of who ends up owning that bridge. So we're focused on that. We heard your concern at MML, so we're making that improvements. It's not a poorly rated bridge, it's just an old bridge.
Yeah. I think it was temporary at first when the flood Agnes came in, but who knows? That was
Right.
30-some years ago. So.
And then on the 32 development there, the mixed use, happy to look at it from a traffic impact study. We don't necessarily, I don't know if a Pell or, a planning and environmental linkages is going to help you with what you need is. I think, right now, we're pushing, or the concern is whether they can get out on the Springfield. Is that what it is? And
It's the concern is that there's another access into this will be newly developed part of the property that currently only has access further south on 32 through the Warfield residential development.
okay.
And so we're looking for a second point of ingress and egress. Do you need some water, Secretary?
I have some.
Okay.
I get that tickle my thumb.
Okay. So, yes, so whether it's a PEL or another traffic study of some sort to determine if that's possible. Because we've got Springfield Hospital Center and their improvements that are happening, and there's a lot of things happening on that side of 32.
Okay.
And people are currently using Raincliff and Buttercup and cutting through Springfield State Hospital campus to avoid a section of 32 So there's a lot of things that are kind of playing from different sides and angles. And having another point of access for what is supposed to be developed as mixed use. It shouldn't be the access, you shouldn't have to drive through the residential area, or at least that be the primary or sole point of access to the mixed use development.
Yeah, so I think this is a perfect example of kind of what we were talking about earlier with all the municipalities in the county, kind of all, if we all understand where the greater, bigger plan is,
Yes.
we can ultimately come up with a solution that helps everyone, so.
Exactly.
That property was vacant and owned by Fairhaven, which is an assisted living and retirement community, for a very long time, until just 4 months ago. So now it will be developed.
And I understand the need for the access, but we're also always trying to balance the safety as long as with the mobility part, so it's, you know,
Absolutely.
you can only cut the pie up so many different ways.
Absolutely. I just want to make sure that things haven't changed since 2018. From the study that's being used to recommend they're not.
Yeah, we're looking at the overall,
Yeah.
that's set the blueprint that we're trying to then put together piece by piece.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay?
Okay, cool. Appreciate your time, and thank you for what's about to happen as soon as the county's work is done on infrastructure on our Main Street on 851, and then you all come behind and finish that up for
Yes.
us next year. Thank you.
Mayor, you mentioned Agnes, us
Okay.
50 years ago, so that bridge,
Is,
we didn't do. We were just whippersnappers.
Mount
I was a
Airy,
young one.
is Mount Airy here?
70.
Union Bridge,
72.
72?
New Windsor,
72.
and Manchester. Okay. What I'd like to do is now invite our legislators, if they would like to come up and share some ideas, words.
Or praise for Secretary Ports.
It would not be dishonest to say you've done a great job.
Yes.
This is my last time in front of you all after 20 years, and I just want to,
Wow.
our capable towns and commissioners have laid out what our priorities are. I think we agree with them. They've done a very good job of coordinating. But I just want to thank you and State Highway, because I started 20 years ago with you. You were my leader.
Yeah.
And then you left and went to MDOT.
That's right.
Under the early administration, and things started changing.
That's when I was in the House of
I mean,
Delegates.
People forget what MDOT and MVA were all about before the Ehrlich administration came in, and we need to remind ourselves of the change that started happening under the Ehrlich administration, which you were a part of, in putting focus on making things more accessible at MVA. It's huge. I mean, think about MVA getting your license years ago. It was a big deal. Now, and I will tell you, Chrissy Nizer, who was his aide, and now she's the head of MVA. I literally had somebody send me flowers because of the issue she took care of for somebody getting their driver's license. Because people are so you call Chrissy, she's got it taken care of. So she's done a phenomenal job at MVA. But since the very beginning of time, Ehrlich administration started putting roads first and putting Carroll County back on the map. Because prior to that, they were sort of cutting us off. You know, they wanted Carroll County to stay rural. We weren't going to get roads. We weren't going to get 32 improved or 26 or anything we wanted under the previous administration. A lot of that started under Governor Ehrlich's leadership with putting money into the rural counties, and we started our projects, and then we had a little bit of a pause, and then, say that nicely, and then Governor Hogan came back in, putting emphasis back on roads, which is the modality of choice by most individuals in the state of Maryland, instead of putting all of our money into transit, which has, as you know, very low ridership, and that benefited all of us. And all we have to do is look around the last 8 years. You talk about paving project. I think Mr. Wantz said that. The roads that we all travel on, the Route 50 corridor, the Bay Bridge, the improvements of just travel around the state are just visible everywhere. So I want to thank you. But most of all, the team that I put up with for the last 20 years, every single person on the team, and the faces have changed. You all have changed since my first, with Bob Flanagan and the team. I've never had a situation where I have not called, and whether it's a traffic light needs to be recalibrated or an intersection, that they have not come out, done the due diligence, and I could name all of the district engineers that have come through, and they've been excellent. And so I want to thank you for that, especially the last 8 years. A lot of you are new faces, and I just can't say enough about how much MDOT has, and MVA, and MTA, and all of it, everything under MDOT has done and listened to us, because the local people we know where the rubber meets the road.
Sure.
The reason I'm retiring is because the last intersection in my community is finally got finished, which is at the end of my street where I live. It was the last one we had completed, but we basically had all the intersection improvements done on Route 32 in my original district, and it's taken a number of years. And we almost have the total completion of the dualization of 32. On our side, in Carroll County, there's a little bit that needs to be complete. But we don't just drive in Carroll County, and I want to thank you for doing, and I want to thank former County Executive Kittleman for having the foresight to doing the dualization of 32 all the way through Howard County. Unbelievable difference in the lives of people in Carroll County having that dualization, you know, totally opened up now through Howard County.
Yep.
And just the vision of them with their fees that they charge to be able to do the road improvements down there, and that money went to that improvement, worked with the state to accelerate it. So it's all done. I drove through there the other day and said, oh, it's a dream to get our folks here from Carroll County into NSA and where people work in Columbia. So all of those things are good. And when I say thank you, I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because you all have been accessible. I've got your phone number in my cell
Oh, I
phone.
know, you got me on speed dial. I know we've had plenty of
I
conversations.
miss you as our leader in the House of Delegates, but you definitely have done a phenomenal job in all the years here, and I want to thank all of you for taking our issues seriously. I mean, we have constituents sometimes will complain about a certain area, and literally, I call it in, and we've had whole intersections improved just because of someone saying, hey, this is an issue, and you guys take it seriously, do the studies, and we have a conversation about it. And I've nothing negative to say about my experience over the years. And this is my last time talking, that's why I took an extra minute. But I want to thank you and your team, and please take that message back to other team members, how we really do appreciate it. And I
Okay.
did really get flowers because of Chrissy Nisey.
Yeah.
You guys are taking care of it.
Look, I'll tell you what, if I said it the other night, if I had a nickel for every time I got a compliment about Chrissy Nizer, I'd be a very, very rich man.
Well, you trained her, right?
Yeah, well, she exceeded the leader.
I have one other question that
The
I
mentor.
just had a recent question about. It has to do with Real ID. I don't know if you talked about that to begin with.
Yeah.
I know we got put off the dates because of COVID. What is the date of compliance now for Real
It's
ID?
May 3rd.
May 3rd,
2023.
2023.
People will be, I mean, the people that were supposed to get notified will still get notified if they,
Yes, we
Yes.
actually started notifying customers last May to come back in, but the deadline's May 23rd, and yes, we think we have much more correspondence planning to go out, so.
because I haven't gotten it, they said wait for the letter, so I'm waiting for the letter, but I just want to be able to get on the airplane.
You haven't?
That's okay, I thought we were supposed to wait for the letter. but I guess.
Well,
And whenever you're ready.
So
Whenever you're ready, go in.
we're at 88% compliant. I know your note said 87, but I can tell you that we're 88.
Eight now, yes.
Because from the time this was printed to now, we update our information. The national average is 51%.
Wow.
So we are way ahead of the nation in this respect. But, but, as you know, once that deadline hits and you're not allowed to go to the airport or to get in the federal building or so on and so forth, whatever the feds decide to do, that small minority that hasn't participated yet is gonna scream pretty loud.
And also,
But
your communications team is excellent.
we have been reaching out.
And we send that stuff out
A
in our
lot.
newsletters, and so
Yep.
the communications team, let them know that we do try to get that, I have 9,000 on my email list. We always put those communications out. Also want to thank you for the texting on the Bay Bridge, the constant notification about traffic conditions. All those communications really are noticeable, so we appreciate that.
That's great, thank you. And thank you for your 20 years of service. Good luck on your
2 more months.
retirement.
Delegate Rose?
Say thank you. I think Susan said it all. You guys have just done just a phenomenal job, and it's been great working with you. And I do hope that as we move forward and we have new faces and new people, that there'll be some wisdom in keeping some of you. But I do appreciate it. I'm sorry we missed the beginning of the presentation with our other meeting, so I will take this. And go
That was one of the best presentations
I
we've
bet it
ever
was.
given.
I bet it was. So, but thank you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I love to write every one of these.
I've seen her office.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah.
Sir, with that said, any final comments from you?
No, I mean, again, just thank you. One, for inviting us up so we could have this conversation. And again, thank you for all your participation over the years, the collaboration, either at Mako, here, or wherever you decide to contact us. It's been great. And we continue to look forward to working with you in the future.
Sounds great. Need a motion to adjourn. One of you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
There's no discussion. All in favor? Aye.